The following broadcast may contain mature content. A little listener discretion would be jolly well advised.
Cast out by my parents, I ventured forth into the vast world beyond.
Your money or your life? For what it's worth. With the end of the world.
My name is Luca. I live on the second floor.
I decided to raid the refrigerator.
It was a very old, decrepit-looking refrigerator, which was not surprising, considering the general dowdiness and lack of upkeep that Mrs. Anna seemed to have adopted as her signature style. It was also extraordinarily large, at least 4 times as big as the one my parents owned. Having a small refrigerator was never an issue for us, as my mother rarely cooked, which was a blessing, as her occasional attempts at beef bourguignon or chicken Kiev usually ended up with billowing plumes of acrid-smelling smoke filling the house, stinking it up for days afterwards. Most of the time she'd have food delivered, though would never answer the door herself, as she considered all delivery men to be potential rapists. It was always left to me when the doorbell rang. "Valentine," she'd cry out, "the PR's here." This monster, however, was big enough to feed an army. It was cream-colored and looked as though it had been manufactured sometime during the 1950s. It probably seemed quite futuristic at the time, with its long, tapered chrome handle that looked like something from the Jetsons spaceship. I decided to wait just a little longer, in case Mrs. Anna, in spite of her stern insistence on punctuality, was simply running late. After a while, though, I determined that enough was enough, and if breakfast wasn't going to be served to me, I'd serve breakfast to myself. After all, it's the most important meal of the day. I grabbed hold of the huge chrome door handle, and after some considerable effort, managed to tug it open. Oh, I was immediately hit by a blinding flood of brilliant white light, so much that I was forced to stagger back and shield my eyes. As I peered back at the refrigerator through my fingers, still squinting as my eyes tried to adjust to the brightness, I noticed the figure of a man stepping out from inside it. He was tall, stout, with an enormous potbelly, and wore a large Stetson hat on top of his large, bulbous head. He seemed very happy to see me, his hand outstretched to shake mine, with a huge smile on his face that revealed 2 rows of dazzlingly bright teeth that were almost as blinding as the light behind him.
Hi there, Wraith's the name, Hank Wraith. Pleased to make your acquaintance, young man, and let me just say that you opened that door at the exact right time, 'cause boy, oh boy, do I have an important message for you.
He took my hand and gave it a rigorous shake, but his affable enthusiasm aside, I felt decidedly off-put by the manner in which he'd come to light, as it were. Had he been hiding in there? And why in a refrigerator of all places? You do? He put his arm around my shoulders in a fatherly, or perhaps brotherly-like way.
Do I ever? I know just what you're thinking. What in the name of the Lord is going on? What the heck is he doing in there, right? Am I right? Tell me I'm right.
Well, yes, but...
I knew it. I knew it. You're confused, aren't you? You see, the thing is, we're all confused. Don't always want to admit it, but it's the truth just the same. It's a confusing world, and none of us quite know what to make of it. Am I right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I think so, but...
We're all looking for something. We don't quite know what, but we're looking for it just the same. And we look, and we look, and we keep on looking, till eventually we start to getting disheartened. 'Cause it just ain't showing up. Am I right?
Well...
Now, if I'm not right, you gotta step right up and tell me, but I have a feeling I am right. You with me? Are we on the same page here, you and me?
Well, yes, I suppose so.
And then one fine day, one glorious fine day, you do something as simple as opening up your refrigerator door, and lo and behold, you find the very thing you've been looking for, right when you least expected. Now tell me, am I right or am I right?
Yes, quite possibly, but actually I was simply looking for something to eat. That's all. He suddenly became even more ebullient than before.
Food? You was looking for food? In there? Oh, there ain't no food here, boy. I gotta tell you, if you came here looking for food, you done come to the wrong place. There ain't no food here. And if you're expecting some to come by here anytime soon, then you do good to sit yourself down and make yourself mighty comfortable. Yes, sir, indeed, mighty comfortable.
But it's a refrigerator.
It's a machine is all. It ain't gonna solve no problems. Yours nor the world's.
Perhaps not, but I really feel I should eat.
You don't need no machine to eat, little buddy. You only need one thing to eat, and you know what that is, don't you?
Yes, food.
Money.
He gave me a knowing wink of his eye. Well, yes, money to buy food, but I've paid my room and board.
No. It ain't that simple.
It isn't?
Not even close. Well, not for a thinking man. Not unless you want to end up like some bum eating out of garbage cans. No, you need money. It's the only flavor I know that feeds the heart, mind, and soul all at the same time.
I'm sure that's true, but it's actually my stomach that needs food more than anything else.
Well, of course it is. Of course it does, but...
Hank stopped and looked suspiciously around the room, as if we might be being spied upon.
Okay, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here. Come here. Come sit here, by me.
He led me over to the kitchen table and pulled out a chair for me. As he did so, I noticed the grotesquely ugly ring on the little finger of his left hand. It was made of yellow gold and was shaped in the form of a serpent that coiled around his finger, with a large red jewel placed in the center of the serpent's hissing, outstretched mouth, the teeth of which held the stone in place. He leaned in closer and spoke in hushed tones.
Now, I'm gonna let you in on a little insider information. Just 'cause I like you. Just between you and me, though, okay? Gotta promise me, hear?
Yes, I hear.
Now then, there may have been a little food in that there refrigerator when I first come across it. But I, ate it all up, see? I mean, I had to. Now, come on. If you had a belly like mine, you got no choice, right?
The sound of laughter seemed to come from nowhere, but I had a sneaking suspicion that it originated from a device located somewhere on his person.
Oh, it's a beast, my friend. A hungry beast. And I found it, so I ate it. Finders keepers. It's the law of the jungle. But, and this is important.
He placed a finger to his lips in a cautionary manner and stared at me. I then realized a response of some type was expected, presumably of agreement. All right.
See, I think there could be some more food in there somewhere. Still speculation at this point, but I'm willing to put money on it.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. I would very much like some, if you're willing to share. My unease regarding his shady behavior was no match for my increasingly sharp hunger pains.
Well, I sure would, but here's the catch. Well, not a catch so much as more of a issue at hand. The finding of it's gonna take money, and I am currently, due to circumstances beyond my control that I'm legally bound not to discuss on the advice of my lawyers, flat broke.
Oh dear, I'm so sorry.
Oh, not as sorry as I am. But all is not lost. How much money do you have?
Me? Well, not much, I'm afraid.
How much?
Well, next to nothing, really. I need to find a job.
I'll take it.
I wasn't sure if he'd fully understood the nature of my circumstances. I beg your pardon?
Whatever you have, I'll spin it into gold. You see, I have a scheme. Well, not a scheme as such, more of a business plan.
I wondered why the simple act of eating food had become such a complicated business. Or scheme. What sort of plan? Hank scanned the room again in search of those who might be his undoing, then leaned in closer to me, arching his right eyebrow as if to emphasize the secret and serious nature of what he was about to impart.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you this, but it's completely confidential. Totally off the record, and subject to legal recrimination against not only you, but your family, your friends, and just about anyone you've ever known in your entire life, okay?
Okay.
Okay, here it is. You're kinda boring, right?
I'm sorry?
Well, not being rude or nothing, just frank, you understand. Or Hank, I guess. But you come across to other people, or me at least, as being a kind of a boring guy to talk to. I mean, all kind of proper and thinking it all through before you speak. I mean, who has time for that, right?
I was taken completely off guard by his barefaced and very unfair assessment of me. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know that that's entirely... I mean, what does that mean? In real terms.
See? Exactly my point. You're as boring as all get out. Do you see what I'm getting at? That stuff what's coming out of your mouth ain't exactly gonna set the world on fire, is it? That ain't napalm coming out of your lips. It's dull. It's indecisive. It's gray, not black and white. People nowadays, they ain't got time for thinking and waiting and trying to figure out just what the hell it is you're trying to get at. You gotta get that soundbite in fast, or else you're dead in the water. Yesterday's news. This is a world of snap decisions, snap polls, and snap judgments. 3 pauses and, hey buddy, you're out of here. You see where it is I'm heading in all this?
Not really. But nonetheless, I still think that no matter what others say of you, you should always... He raised the palm of his hand to my face, giving me a close-up view of the serpent's tail that curled itself insidiously around the base of his little finger.
Stop. Don't dig yourself any deeper. Listen to yourself. No, don't listen to yourself. I need you awake. Look, son, it's just plain hard to take. So let me just cut right to the chase and tell you what I can do to help. You see, I just happen to have some very powerful connections in the healthcare industry.
Healthcare?
You heard right. Primo connections.
But what does that have to do with...
Very powerful. Surgeons. Expert surgeons. Best there is.
That's nice, but I still
Not
don't...
only that, I have untold influence with some of the biggest players in the information technology field. And I'm talking major names.
I'm sure that's very wonderful. Yet I still...
It is. So you see where all this is going, right?
Not in the slightest.
Well, okay. I'm just gonna spell it out for you. I think it's pretty clear that in this day and age, most everyone wants to talk, and no one wants to listen, especially if you're the type to boil the pants off a herd of chickens.
A what?
It's a basic, fundamental human need to be heard that we all share, and no one gives a shit about. Am I right?
Evidently so.
And that's a demographic. A discontented demographic. And a market share ripe for the plucking, right?
Well, yes, I suppose it could be.
Right. So here's the answer. We take people like you, nice enough in themselves, but kind of bland on the whole. And they know it. These are smart, self-aware people, mind you, and we offer them, at an affordable price, the opportunity of having one of our medically certified surgeons, fully indemnified of course, implant a small plasma TV screen into their foreheads that can receive real-time feeds from some of the most popular cable television networks available, right there into that useless empty space above their eyebrows.
He paused for a moment, staring at my forehead.
What do you think?
It's certainly odd, and yet oddly interesting. Go on.
Imagine it. You're just itching to impart all the tedious details of everything that's hanging heavy on your mind to one of your coworkers at happy hour in the local bar. They're bracing themselves for an hour or two of clenched teeth and thinking to themselves, won't he ever shut the hell up? When suddenly, to their great surprise and delight, you produce a convenient, palm-sized remote control that gives them the freedom to choose between all the latest news from CNN, up-to-the-minute sports action from ESPN, or a thought-provoking costume drama from your very own BBC. All at the touch of a button.
Interesting. Which was all I could think to say as I tried very hard to imagine this actually happening in real life.
Meanwhile, you, all too aware of just how disinterested in your petty life concerns your captive audience actually is, can feel free to yak yourself into a frenzy as you bask in the fully committed, rapt attention of your recipient's gaze. It's a win-win situation.
He flashed me another one of his blindingly white smiles. Hank, it appeared to me, was either a brilliant, wildly imaginative entrepreneurial dynamo, or just stark raving mad. This concept of his, though certainly outlandish and bizarre sounding on first hearing, still seemed to possess its own peculiar logic. After all, just yesterday I'd observed several people wandering the streets with oddly shaped devices attached to their ears, muttering away to no one in particular. At first, I'd assumed them to be psychiatric patients, released back into society on a trial run basis, who chattered away to themselves incessantly, all the while their movements being carefully monitored by the asylum via their ear tags. After a while, though, I realized that these people were in fact talking to other people, and that the devices attached to their heads were a form of telecommunication. So perhaps Hank's so-called business plan wasn't so strange after all. The only major flaw I could see in it, and a potentially fatal one, was that this wasn't actually a real form of communication at all, just a way of creating the appearance of one. I decided to challenge him on it. That's all very well, but, well, it's an illusion, isn't it?
Damn right it is. The truth is, the truth ain't pretty. Illusion is. People like it. It's the first of all pleasures.
Didn't Oscar Wilde say that?
So sue me. Look, all I need to know is, are you in or are you out?
Still on the fence about parting with what little money I had left, I decided to try and buy a minute or two by saying something vague and non-committal. Well, it certainly is unique, and would appear, at least at face value, to have some potential. Just as I wondered if perhaps my response had been a little too downbeat,
Oh, damn.
Hank suddenly cried out with unfettered excitement.
Oh, that's it.
What is?
The slogan. The pitch. We add face value. I love it. Increase your face value today. Holy shit, boy. Your personality may be a dud, but you're a marketing director's dream come true.
Oh, thank you. I think.
Take me at face value and enjoy every second. Oh, you're brilliant.
I could feel my face reddening with embarrassment. Well,
So, you in?
I wasn't sure if it was his flattery or his fevered sloganeering that tipped the scale, but either way, it worked. Yes. Yes, all right then.
Great. Smart move. So hand it over.
Sorry?
With the cash.
I reached into my wallet and took out what was left of the stipend my parents had provided me with, trying to convince myself, not altogether successfully, of the wisdom of what I was doing. Yes, well, as I mentioned, it's not a lot.
Every bit helps, sonny. Capitalize, capitalize.
I only wish I had more.
Don't we all? But it's seed money, see? It grows.
He stuffed the money into the front pocket of his denim jeans, the yellow gold serpent's mouth hissing sparkling red beams at me as he did so. It was then that I noticed his belt buckle. It was the most enormous one I'd ever seen, oval-shaped and made of brass that had a tarnished, dull greenish-brown patina. A smiling woman's face had been etched into the center of it, Asian-looking in appearance, and while it could have been the representation of any number of women, it struck me as having an uncanny resemblance to former U.S. figure skating champion Michelle Kwan.
You're gonna remember this moment for a long time to come. Trust me on this.
He then slapped me on the back, a little too enthusiastically for comfort. Oh, I do trust you.
Woohoo!
But my reply rang hollow, even to my own ears.
Beautiful!
He slapped me on the back again, and then raised his huge, hulking frame from the chair. His terrifying belly now expanding menacingly towards me, restrained only by the radiant smile of Michelle Kwan.
Now I gotta run. Gotta keep the ball rolling.
Yes, of course. Hank swaggered back towards the refrigerator, emitting a large belch that not only sounded loud in the confines of the kitchen, but also seemed to reverberate around the entire house. I covered my ears until the roar had subsided, then followed him back to the refrigerator. What happens next?
Next? Well, if all goes well, it'll be next stop Fat City for you and me.
He climbed back inside, the bright lights once again dazzling my eyes and forcing me to squint. Wonderful. It sounds like a very nice place. And how will I reach you?
You won't need to. I'll reach you.
He then gave me another of his sly winks.
I guarantee it.
As I was about to ask when the likelihood of that might be, he brusquely slammed the refrigerator door in on himself and was gone.
Thank you for tuning in to our show. We do hope you enjoyed it. And if so, why not be an absolute angel and leave us a rating or review on whichever podcast platform you frequent. Thank you. This episode featured Jackson Campbell as Valentine and Todd Weekley as Hank. Our show was written and directed by Andrew Biss. Until next time.